Good morning, investors. Welcome to another TipRanks webinar. My name is Ari Gutman. I'm a customer success manager here at TipRanks. Now, investors, we have quite a day ahead of us with Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve Chairman, about to come out with the next interest rate hike decision. So everybody, I think, across the board is anticipating a 25 basis point rate hike. But more on that in a quick second. I want to just share with you that if you're brand new to these webinars, what we do here, first and foremost, is paint an economic backdrop, and then we dive right into a TipRanks featured tool of the week, or if it is the case, from time to time, a brand new tool that will be rolling out on TipRanks for all of you investors. But without further ado, let's get back to the talk of our economic environment and this economic breakdown, because today is going to be quite a day in terms of market volatility, or at least it could be, depending on what Jerome Powell's remarks will be, what this interest rate hike decision will be. Now, last week and prior to last week, we had the market that was really anticipating a 50 basis point rate hike. This was before the banking crisis and the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, the collapse of Signature Bank, and the buyout there of Credit Suisse. All three of these banks taking huge hits, causing a lot of volatility, a lot of uncertainty, the market full of fear. That volatility, I think, hit us much sooner. And then as these banks started to collapse, what we really saw across the board was investors and economists bracing themselves for a 25 basis point rate hike, with some investors out there, it looks like, potentially seeing a pause from the Federal Reserve. Now, I stand in the camp that the Federal Reserve is not here to play poker with us, and therefore, they had shared with us they were going to continue to increase interest rates, that it's likely to be a bumpy road ahead. We're going to have and be in a long 2023 here, in an environment where we're going to have higher interest rates for a prolonged period of time, as well as inflation that will most likely be a little higher than we like for the remainder of the year. And that's going to lead us right into today's tool, the tool that I want to feature and share with all of you in today's webinar, because it all really comes down to the question of, well, in knowing our economic environment for the year ahead, where we stand right now, what the next 6 months to 12 months could look like, where exactly should we be looking? Where do we generate these stock ideas? So I want to go ahead and share my screen with all of you. Bear with me as I do just that. Here we are now on the TipRanks homepage. And just for today's webinar, I want to go right to Apple. Now I'm just choosing Apple because I like Apple. It's a great stock to use it as an example. I want to go a year out. Now, as I mentioned, the Smart Score is on every single stock analysis page here on TipRanks. And we can see here that Apple has a TipRanks Smart Score of a 10. Now, for those of you who are curious as to what the TipRanks Smart Score really is, so any Smart Score of an 8, 9, or a 10 means there's a higher likelihood that this stock could outperform the market. Again, no guarantees, just based on the fact that in any given second, any given week rather, we can see an entire sector fold with a lot of fear and volatility as in the banking sector. But just looking at these smart scores, we're having 8 different TipRanks factors factor in here to give us our smart score. So I just wanted to bring everyone to Apple quickly to share with you that this smart score is on our stock analysis pages on the top right-hand side. However, I want to bring everyone's attention to research tools to the left here underneath top stocks. There's an opportunity for us to go right to the top smart score stocks. Now, right off the bat, we're going to get a list below. But before we get to that list, I highly encourage everybody to jump onto the top smart score stocks page here. And just underneath the chart, there's About Smart Score and Performance. We can click on that to get a full breakdown of what exactly goes into the TipRanks Smart Score. Now, I'm encouraging every investor to go check out this page for one reason only, and that's just to inform yourself as an investor, empower yourself as an investor. But just for the webinar, I want to cover that our Smart Score is going to factor in the analyst ratings, insider transaction activity, financial blogs, as well as individual investor sentiment. So that would be our TipRanks crowd wisdom there. What are investors here doing across the board? Hedge fund activity, news sentiment, the technicals, as well as fundamentals. Of course, we're also factoring in here the economic environment. But I encourage every investor to go and explore this page again, just to get a deeper understanding of that SMART score. Now, as I go back here again, we went to research tools underneath top stocks. It's the second tab here of top SMART score stocks. And we have our list that is generated here. So bearing in mind that these SMART score stocks that are rated an 8, 9, or a 10 have a higher likelihood here of outperforming the market over the course of the longer term. I want to double down on sharing that this is over the course of the long term, because unfortunately, I've talked to quite a few community members of ours on TipRanks through our customer experience sessions. And I think there may be some confusion amongst investors that this SMART score means the stock is a buy right now. And if you buy it right now, it will jump up by 10, 15, 20% by, say, tomorrow or a week from now. Now, I want to assure everybody that the SMART score is there as a longer term indicator of the performance of a stock, again, over the long period of time. So having that in mind, let's give it, say, 12 plus months. We now can peg it to what's happening right now in our economic environment. So again, just to paint this picture for us right now, inflation at 6%. The labor market is incredibly robust. We are expecting Jerome Powell to come out and share with us that there will be a 25 basis point rate hike. Ultimately, what that does is across the board for businesses is going to create some more pain. It's going to create some more pain because when businesses are pinched, what do? They scale back on marketing and advertising. Of course, we're seeing layoffs mainly right now in the tech sector. And I'm in the camp there that's going to take sector by sector layoffs really for an indent to be made here to really have a Federal Reserve pivot. Nonetheless, here we have our stocks that are in front of us. Again, looking out to the longer term, we have our TipRanks Smart Score stocks of a 10 laid out in front of us. However, in knowing my economic backdrop, I want to go a step further because there are certainly certain sectors that are going to be hit harder than others should there be more waves of heavy volatility or even in the event of a recession, whether it be light, mild, or a deeper recession. So I want to play it a little bit more defensively for the sake of today's webinar. And I'm going to go ahead and check off healthcare, consumer goods. Let's do one more here and go with utilities. Now, I want to check these three sectors off because regardless of what's happening within the economic environment, well, we know that people want to live longer, healthier lives. Healthcare is going to remain up there. We want to make sure that consumer goods are checked off because, again, that's a very defensive sector to get invested into. Again, should a light, mild, or deep recession hit, we all know that consumers are going to go out and buy, say, their personal care goods. Those are consumer goods for us. And then utilities, last but not least, always a safe sector. So again, this is just us playing a little bit more defensively as investors. Now we can even go a little bit more defensively and toggle with the market cap and stick to our larger companies, so our mega and our large cap companies. And we could focus specifically on, let's say, the stocks that have seen higher SMART scores within the last 1 to 2 weeks. Now, we just filtered through a ton of stocks, and we have now narrowed in on a handful of them here that we now have the opportunity to add to our stock watch list. Now, I want to share again, we have the opportunity here to add these stocks here in front of us to our stock watch list and not our stock buy list. And I'm emphasizing that because, again, the SMART score is not here to say that this stock is a buy and you should buy it right now. The SMART score is there as an indication that over the course of the longer term, this stock has a higher likelihood of outperforming the market. So to me, what I'm really sharing with all of you is these are now great opportunities for me as a longer term investor to begin my due diligence. Now, I want to go back up to research tools, and I actually want to take us to one more place on TipRanks, which is our stock screener. Now, about a week ago or so, we had jumped on a webinar together and we took a look at the stock screener. Now, our stock screener is another filtration system on TipRanks that's going to allow investors to generate stock ideas. Now, I'm all about stock ideas because while the market is volatile, right, you get to reap the opportunities of fear being in the market. But it's all about picking the right investments. It's not about timing the market, having time in the market, having time in the market with the right stocks, looking into the right sectors. So stock screeners are going to allow me to do exactly that. I could start off again with my market cap on my left-hand side here. Again, playing it incredibly defensive for the sake of our webinar today. We can stick to mega and large caps. Now, I can go back to the sectors. And again, perhaps I can just keep it this go around to consumer goods. But I want to keep it to a TipRanks Smart Score 8, 9, or a 10, and knowing that right now that Smart Score is going to factor everything from the economic environment, hedge fund activity, insiders, analysts, et cetera, et cetera. And I can go right down now to narrow in on which of these stocks has seen insider activity. Now I have two here, whether it's Dollar Tree or Tesla. I can back out of insider signals, and I can go right for hedge fund signals. And see what smart money has been narrowing in on rather recently. But bear in mind, this is the place for me to generate stock ideas. So I want to pop back on the screen with everybody and share with you that I wanted to keep today's webinar incredibly simple. And in keeping it as simple as our TipRanks Smart Score, because of the day that today is, with Jerome Powell about to come out with the next interest rate hike decision, should there be an interest rate hike of even 25 basis points, more volatility is certainly on the way. More pain across sectors will certainly be on the way as well as we continue on into 2023. The big question is at hand when it comes to TipRanks and how you are utilizing TipRanks to not just utilize that Smart Score, but to start at the Smart Score when trying to generate your stock ideas. How to best position yourself for the year ahead can start with the Smart Score, but that is just the starting point before you dive into the tools that we have to offer, whether it's that insider activity, hedge fund activity, website traffic. The list of tools goes on, but it wouldn't be a TipRanks webinar without me sharing with you that an email is on its way to each and every one of you who has joined me on today's webinar. Now, bear in mind that the interest rate hike decision will come out at 2 p.m. Please keep your eyes and ears open for that interest rate hike decision. And of course, invest accordingly as we move into 2023, the remainder of the year. With a lot of economists expecting more pain ahead, certainly Jerome Powell himself sharing it as he shares that he foresees a bumpy road ahead. I only encourage each and every one of you to take the next step as an investor to empower yourself, utilize all of our tools, invest safely, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next webinar next week, hopefully on Monday, joining us as a premium and ultimate user. Investors, I will see you all in the next webinar.